Okay, recording has started and Fireflies is taking our notes. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to our second to the last meeting of the Lindbergh Citizens Renaming Committee. As Chelsea said, you all look wonderful. Nobody looks smoky. Nobody looks like they're at 100 degrees hot yet. I do want to acknowledge the horrible thing that has happened to our community since we last met. And I know that for people like me who live close, for people like Chelsea, whose father was involved because he has an important role down in security down at the Capitol, and as a community as a whole, we are all grieving and mourning this, and may it lead to important reform as soon as possible. And now we go on to work again. So we're getting there, folks. We're getting there. We're getting there. We finished our public hearing, and we are have one more day for comments. So if you have friends who are still thinking about commenting, the portal is open till what, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Chelsea?
Open till midnight. I hope no one's up till midnight, but I know some people are some late owls. So.
Okay. All right. Because the public hearing ended around 8:30 2 weeks ago, Thursday. Chelsea, as always, is giving everyone grace. And in case your keyboard got stuck, you have till tomorrow. We've had a lot that have come in. But Chelsea, let's start by calling the roll.
Yes. Betsy Abramson,
Present.
Krenisha Crump, Diamond Thomas, Evangeline Swanson,
Present.
Fred Gantz,
Present.
Katie Hole, Mary Hembecker,
Present.
Nan Youngerman,
Present.
Robert Roth,
Present.
Shahana McKinney Balden,
Present.
Tiffany Fee,
Present.
Tyrone Davis Jr., Cynthia Moore,
Present.
and Ken Stancer. Okay. We
Okay.
are at a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. We have a great full house today.
And we are grateful for the great full house today. Thank you. Sorry, couldn't resist that. I don't recall ever having to have formal approval of today's meeting agenda, but it's on the agenda, so let's do it. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
Thank you, Fred.
I second.
Thank you, Mary. Any comments on the agenda? All in favor, please either raise your hand or say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. All right. So we are good to go. Are there any people waiting to speak today in our meeting?
No, we have no one that signed up to speak live to the group.
Okay. All right. So then we will continue on past that. And our homework was to
Oh, Chair, can I back us up? We did have some written statements provided though for this meeting.
Okay. And do we
So-
have these, or are you sharing those, or?
We do. So if everyone's following them at the top of page 4, if you're not following, that's fine too. So
Okay.
there were 4 written statements submitted. That's also been updated in the spreadsheet that I shared with everyone that has the public comment. And so there were 2 community members who wrote in support of renaming Lindbergh Erlinger, Jeffrey Clay Erlinger. And there were 2 community members who wrote in support of renaming Lindbergh Shirley Abrahamson.
You're getting it there,
I
girl.
am. I'm just so used to saying Betsy Abramson. So yeah. And so thank you to our community members who submitted those written statements, and you all do have that in your document as well.
Okay, so those are people who wrote just to the committee through that portal, as opposed to the bajillion comments, not quite bajillion, but the robust number of comments we got using the regular portal that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes.
Oh, let me clarify. No, these 4 folks still did my portal. So it's all in the spreadsheet of our portal. For
Okay.
those who hopped on a little later, we have other portals within MMSD to communicate. I'm working with our comms team because it was brought to my attention there are some comments that were missed because they did not go through my form that's on the renaming website. So I'm compiling those with our comms team. But your spreadsheet with everything, including these four, are through my form through our renaming website.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. And I don't know what size dollar store glasses any of you use to review these comments, but mine came out in a font of about 2. So I had to take my contacts out and put magnifying glass up there to read there. And but the good news is there were so many people who had so much to say that they filled up our pages with lots and lots of comments. So our homework today is for today was to review the public comments, both to listen to the recording from the public hearing and to for Lindbergh and to review the public comments. And again, kudos to Chelsea, who has been working like a mad woman, not mad woman, working like I don't know, working hard amongst all this trauma in the community to keep us on track and sort out all these comments and come up with summaries of the comments and summaries of the public hearings ×3. So sparkly fingers to Chelsea, and thank her, you so much for all of that. I want to remind folks that our 14 days post public hearing does not end until Friday, like around midnight. So there are no decisions that are going to be made today. Policy 6700 is very clear that we can't make a decision till 14 days afterwards, which the other chairs and I and Chelsea worked hard to say, wait. If we, do the public hearing then and count 14 and how do we get there? So we are still on track. So our plan from now till the end, and it's in here somewhere, is that today we're going to have hopefully a good discussion, and Gail is here to help us with any questions we have on the research as well. A good discussion about how each of us are feeling about the names these days, what we're thinking based on the group discussion, based on the review of the public hearings, which Chelsea or I will summarize for you as well, in case there were folks who didn't get a chance to look at them all, as well as the public comments. Next week, on the 12th, that will be our final meeting. And that's the meeting where we're going to be reducing our current number of 21 down to 4. 2 of which have to be names of deceased individuals per the policy. Chelsea came up with a beautiful platform that was going to be just so easy and cool, and you felt like you were on a game show, and it was going to be great to be able to use that for the 4. But unfortunately, the district doesn't own it. It costs too much money. We're not going to be using it, but she's working with her team to come up with a new system, and I'm sure it's just going to be just as cool. And we will end up with a 4 at the end of next session. So a reminder that this is being recorded, a reminder that anybody can listen to it, a reminder that we're not making a decision. You can talk about some of your favorites and why. But there will be no lobbying of each other or decisions that are made today. So, and that is consistent with our reminder down at the bottom of page 4. That ultimately, even when we come up with a list that maybe one of your favorites isn't on or whatever, we did this in a democratic way. And we're going to still be unified in saying this was the will of the committee based on the public input. So before we get into the public input, I just want to say, and I don't know how the rest of you felt about hearing it, it's very persuasive to see, and some of the people in the comments and in the hearings were very emotional. But our job is to think through, the criteria from the rubric that we all started with. What was, how prominent was this a prominent individual and their connection to Madison? and all. So it's hard not to be swayed when there's a lot of people speaking on one person or another or saying not to do this at all or whatever. But our job is not to count up the votes of the public members, but to take those comments into consideration as we stay focused on what the criteria are. Chelsea, do you have anything to add in that kind of overview?
I'll add a couple things that we learned from Albium last night before we go into this next portion. So I provided 2 prompts to even help with our discussion. And I'm super appreciative to our chair and to our district representatives as we met Monday. Again, we meet every Monday for 2 hours as a pre-planning meeting. They give me amazing feedback to make sure that you all are set up for success. And so 2 prompts that I had included to support our conversation, and then please take it in any way that would work for you. I'm at the top of page 10 if you're following along. Has any community feedback we've heard so far highlighted a perspective, impact, or concern that wasn't immediately obvious to what Betsy's saying as we might have come in with our own notions? And then the other prompt is, as we listen to the community's voice across our names, are we weighing community feedback equally for every candidate? Or are we letting louder feedback sway us more for some than others? So again, speaking to what Chair Abramson was talking about, not everyone feels comfortable talking in person. Not everyone feels comfortable in writing. I'm sure you all have been solicited in different ways from neighbors to colleagues, just what they're thinking as well. And so I'll also share too, the conversation last night was very robust with LVM as far as once we watched the hearing, because I know that everyone's in different places. Some people have been able to review it. Some people have been on vacation. I know I heard from folks who were like, where I was at on vacation, my internet was not reliable, right? So we want to make sure that you've seen everything, read everything. And some of the conversations that came up from there was, staff appreciating names because it gives them a teaching point within where they're headed for the year. There's also a lot of feedback still to not have people's names as a part of the schools. I continue to remind the public, both in interviews I've done, and I'm going to make sure it's even more clear on the website. That is still our policy. It was also brought up that one of our board members, board member Pearson, has said that she does not want names. That is her right. And in the policy, it still states that names are allowed. And if we have up to 4, 2 of those do have to be names. So I also want to take that pressure off the committee as we review the comments, because that anxiety came up last night with LVM's group, just as far as like, I'm hearing from people they don't want names, but yet, right? And then the other thing that was discussed too is that I've had the noticing of looking across all 3 schools because we are in a very diverse community. Different groups are advocating for different venues. There are some groups that definitely want more of a name, and it was brought up in our conversation last night that there are no schools named after Latinas. And so just as far as seeing where different comments are coming from for different schools, we talked about the audit that I had sent out that also points out how many names, and Gail is going to be integral in this part. She shared a lot of information to help with the conversation last night too, around how we've transitioned into names and the research she's done. It was also flagged last night that most of our buildings, 33, are named after white men. Typically white men that were older, right? And so when we get to those pieces, Gail's going to be a great, and I see her on camera. There she is. And I see her unmuted too. So Gail, what would you like to add to before we go into just the review?
Well, I just thought now might be a good time before it gets loud around me. So I was just going to give a little bit of background into the names of the schools, just an overall general thing. Up to 1904, the Madison City Schools were named for wards. So they were Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4. It got confusing. So the Women's Committee, the Women's Club set up an educational committee of a whole bunch of other groups, and they came up with names for the school. Just real quick, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Louisa M. Braden, who was the first Madison school teacher in 1838. And she was because all the others were men. But the Women's Club were like, we need a woman. James D. Doty, Lyman C. Draper, Jacques Marquette, Increase A. Lapham, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Henry W. Longfellow, and Wingra Park, which was just annexed, part of University Heights was just annexed into the city of Madison in 1904, which is kind of the precursor school to Randall. So that's the history of that. We have still 4 schools that have those historic names. And those schools were named for, they did a split. There were some literary characters, there were some that were deeply rooted to the state of Wisconsin, and then there was 2, political presidents. So that's the way that worked. And then in the 50s and the 60s, as Chelsea has alluded to, they were building schools like crazy because of the baby boom. They were also annexing schools, and that's another issue. So a lot of those schools that were being built were named after long-term school board members. And those were white men. I believe the Doyle building, Ruth Bachhuber Doyle, was, I believe, but I can't find the information. I believe she was first female on the school board. So they were all white men. And also, as far as the scrutiny that goes with more well-known or more famous people, these people don't have that much scrutiny. There's not that much information about them, so you don't necessarily know, but that was the situation at the time. I think that, and then, whatever. I mean, I happen to live in the Crestwood neighborhood, and the school is named Crestwood, and we all take a great deal of pride in that. So not to discount place names or geographic names, but names do have people names have a tendency to revitalize. And then citing that, then I'll be finished. In 1991, the school board decided, and I was around at the time, and I was a little involved, not very much. They decided that they were going to rename the middle schools that were attached to elementary schools. Thus, you have Gompers, Marquette, Schenck, Orchard Ridge, and Van Hise. And so in 1993, and they were going to do it, they were going to include women, and they were going to have a diverse naming. So that's where you come up with Blackhawk, Georgia O'Keeffe, Annie Green Crow Whitehorse, Akira Toki, and Velma Hamilton. So that was, and that revitalized that. That was a really, I think, forward thinking of something that the board did. And then I'll go away, but I'm compelled to say 2 things. I spent time with Akira Toki, was a wonderful man. Madison born, parents were vegetable farmers. He was a vegetable farmer. He strived to be included in World War II and was with the Go for Broke unit. And then volunteered at the VA hospital for years and years and years, and he was delightful. Velma and Henry Hamilton, my grandparents knew, and they came to their 50th wedding anniversary. And with Velma's mother, Mrs. Bell, was there too. So that's it, and then I'll go away.
That was lovely. Thank you, Gail. I had met Velma and Harry as well. Nan, you probably knew them, and there were probably other people on screen who knew them as well. They were active in aging advocacy, which had been my career. So, and they were lovely, lovely people, and I'm thrilled by that. And everybody loves the VH to VH, right? Van Hise to Velma Hamilton. So there's that. Thanks. Chelsea, did you want to say more? I have see on the agenda, it says Chelsea's audit.
So just a couple of things. And so thank you, Gail. We love Gail's passion for history. And so it's been amazing working with her. And then also she has 6 grandchildren over right now. So we're happy to see them, Gail. And so with that, at the top of page 10, you will see Gail's audit research. So remember, I sent out an audit, and I think it was Nan who asked for that. And it was a great question, Nan. And so I did my own rough research, knowing that I am definitely not the expert Gail is. It was just to get you all out something as soon as possible. So that was emailed on July 17th, but I've linked it in here. And then right below it is Gail's audit research, which is it's amazing. I really enjoyed reading it yesterday. So that is linked there for you as well. And then Gail also reminded me of one other point I made last night as far as always trying to offer diverse perspectives to all the committees. while having neighborhood schools named after neighborhoods, there's a lot of pride and folks really like that. I do want to flag for the group that we do have a lot of children who are bussed in from other neighborhoods. And we know that our attendance boundaries will be changing. We don't know what those will look like. And so also just another prompt to help us add to thinking about when we name things after particular neighborhoods and kids aren't directly in those neighborhoods, just thinking about our community as a whole. And I think LVM, we saw that especially because last night when we were talking about it is the LVM neighborhood, and our chair is the president of the neighborhood association. And so he's also received a lot of interesting feedback directly on their Facebook page, just knowing the pride that folks have for their neighborhoods. And we know that our schools support kids across many neighborhoods within a building. All right. And so with that, Chair, what we had done last night was I fast forwarded the public hearing meeting to just the voice comments.
Great.
Make sure everyone saw those because not everybody's internet's been working. So to verify everyone has seen that. And then we can go into the amazing summaries that I know the chair worked really, really hard on to get those turned over for us. All right, Chair, does that sound good to you to transition
Sure.
into that?
Sure, please.
All right, so at this time, if you want to turn off your video, because I'll be sharing screen, that's fine. If you want to leave your video on, that's fine, but I will be replaying public comment. Fred, it was nice to have you there with me that night, and thank you also for your patience. I switched around the agenda because it was, as you all recall, it was less than 24 hours since the tragic incident down on Willie Street. And so I was navigating a lot of pieces. And so I really appreciated Fred's feedback and then also his flexibility that evening. So, all right, with that, I'm going to be sharing screen. Time limits and guidelines so we may hear from as many individuals as possible. I will now call our first speaker, and we have a total of 5 signed up for public comment. Hello, Anthony.
Yes.
Great, we can hear you. So at this time, Anthony, what I'm going to do is you will see a timer come up for 3 minutes to help you track your time. If at 3 minutes you are still speaking, I will respectfully ask you to wrap up your comments, okay?
Okay.
And thank you so much for being here. And I'm just
Thank you.
waiting for the timer to begin, and then I'll tell you when to start. I want to give you your full 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, and you may begin.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Brown, and I thank you to the committee, district staff, and the community members who have dedicated so much time and energy to renaming of Lindbergh and LVM elementary schools. I truly appreciate the care, thoughtfulness, and commitment that has gone into this important process. I also want to acknowledge that, along with many others, I've been advocating for more than 3 years to honor Mrs. Darlene M. Hancock for the renaming of Glen W. Stevens Elementary School, where she served as principal for more than a decade. Her leadership, service, and impact on generations of students, families, and educators make her an extraordinary candidate for that recognition. This effort actually began during the renaming process for what is now Belfield Memorial High School. Mrs. Hancock's name advanced as one of the 4 finalists for consideration. During that process, a committee member acknowledged that while Mrs. Hancock's legacy and contributions deserve to be honored, Glen W. Stevens Elementary School might be the more appropriate place to recognize her because of her deep and lasting connection to that school community. That conversation also raised an important historical question about the renaming of Glen W. Stevens Elementary School. At the time the school was built, Glen W. Stevens was serving as president of the Madison Board of Education. While I recognize that historical context is different from today's standards and expectation, it does raise a legitimate question about the practice of naming a public school after a sitting board president and whether that is the type of recognition we would consider appropriate today. This is not about diminishing anyone's contributions. It is about reflecting on the names we choose for our public schools and ensuring those names represent the values and stories we want to uplift for future generations. Renaming Glen W. Stevens Elementary School after Mrs. Darlene M. Hancock would be a powerful opportunity to honor an educator whose life work directly shaped that school community. So while I genuinely encourage to see Mrs. Hancock's name included among the potential names for Lindbergh Elementary School, I also was left with questions. It is difficult to understand how her name has advanced in this process, while the original proposal specifically requesting that Glenda B. Stevens Elementary School be renamed in her honor, submitted on October 30th, 2023, appears to have been delayed. To be clear, I'm not here to disrupt the process for Lindbergh Elementary School. If the committee determines that Mrs. Hancock is the right choice for that school, I respect the integrity of this process. However, I believe it would be a tremendous disservice to her legacy if the proposal connecting her to the school, where she devoted more than 10 years of her career, were simply pushed aside without explanation. Our request tonight is simply for transparency and clarity. What is the status of Glenda B. Stevens Elementary School renaming proposal? Why has it not moved forward while other schools have entered the renaming process? Those of us who have spent years advocating for Mrs. Hancock and honoring her legacy deserve to better understand the process and where things currently stand. I also want to offer one additional thought as we continue these conversations about school names. When a school is renamed, I believe it's important that we do not lose the historical context of name that came before. One possible way to honor that history would be through an informational plaque, mark, or display that acknowledges the former name, explains the historical context, and shares why the community made the decision to move forward with a new name. Renaming a school should not mean erasing history. It should be an opportunity to preserve it and provide greater understanding for future generations. Thank you for your time, for your service, and for your commitment to ensuring that the names of our schools reflect the history, values, and future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. We're glad you're able to join us tonight, and I am removing you from the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will be bringing in our next public speaker, and that is Brenda Brown. Hi, Brenda, can you hear me?
Do you need me to do something?
Could you also please turn on your camera as well so we can see it? See you?
Okay.
Hi.
All right.
All right, perfect. Okay. And so, Brenda, what will happen is you will see a timer that says 3 minutes. I'll tell you when to start, because you have up to 3 minutes to speak. And then if for some reason you do go over the 3 minutes, I will respectfully ask you to wrap up your comments. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, and you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm in favor of the renaming of the school, but I know the name Darlene Hancock was submitted, and that I am not in favor of. Darlene Hancock was a principal at Glenn Stevens Elementary School. She had a school of excellence. Her whole body, soul went into that school, building a gymnasium, bringing in master teachers. You could not even get parents to come out. 3 of my 4 children went there. It was a premier organization. I come to you as a person that has run both small, medium, and large organizations. I know what a school of excellence looks like. I know her heart was there. We did innovative things like bringing parents in from different neighborhoods, training them how to attend and make their voices known in their school. She insisted upon a diverse staff and a staff of excellence. I could go on. I really never wanted to leave. I've only seen 2 premier organizations like that in my lifetime. And I want to let you know that her family also vehemently does not want her name on any other school than Glenn Stevens. And we know that's the risk that she may never get that to happen. But I can't visualize her name on another school, knowing that her heart and soul was there. So it's a parting gift to her children when she retired. She called them all to the playground, got in a hot air balloon, and literally went up in the sky and left an impression on them forever. She brought me up also, training me more and more to be a better administrator. So I hope that you will consider this. I know we had a proposal in a long time ago. I know that it's not come forward yet, but please do not use her name. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda, for joining us, and thank you for sharing your comments with us. I will be removing you from the meeting at this time.
Thank you.
All right. Mary, it's great that you were able to join us. I haven't been able to send out an email to the committee yet, letting them know that unfortunately the live stream did not work for Lindbergh. So I'm glad that you're able to still hop in on the Zoom link. I'm now bringing in another public speaker, and this will be Farid Gayoub. Hi, Farid, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. We're so glad you're able to join us this evening. So what you will see now is you will see a timer for 3 minutes that will appear because you have up to 3 minutes to speak. If for some reason you do go over, I will respectfully ask you to wrap up your comments. Okay?
Okay.
Great. You may begin. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, committee members, for this opportunity to speak in support of renaming Lindbergh Elementary School in honor of Willa Beatrice Brown. My name is Farid Gio. I live on the east side and have 2 kids in the Madison schools. I'm a 1991 graduate of Madison East High School, which at the time offered a 4-year aerospace education program. From the mid-1980s until 2012, East provided Madison students with a pathway into aviation, and the other Madison high schools offered aviation programs of varying sizes as well. Those programs changed the course of my life. As a senior with a jump start from Madison East, I earned my pilot's license, launching an aviation career that continues to serve me today. Willa Brown is a pioneering aviator, educator, civil rights leader, and an entrepreneur. In the 1930s, she became the first African-American woman in the United States to earn a mechanic's license, pilot's license, and commercial pilot's license. She co-founded in Chicago one of the nation's first Black-owned flight schools and helped train pilots who would go on to become Tuskegee Airmen during World War II, while she tirelessly advocated for equal access to aviation and education. She even ran for Congress in 1948. In 2021, along with several fellow Madison aviators, I co-founded the Willa Brown Aviation Academy to introduce young people to aviation with a special emphasis on reaching students from underrepresented communities. With the blessing of Willa Brown's family, we named our organization after a woman whose life represents perseverance, excellence, and opportunity during a time when the barriers to aviation for African Americans were as tall as the skyscrapers of Chicago, where Willa spent the rest of her life educating children. This past year, the Willa Brown Aviation Academy partnered with MMSD to launch a pilot program introducing 100 middle school students to aviation careers and STEM opportunities. For those students, 25 were selected through a competitive essay process to receive a free one-on-one introductory flight, where each had the opportunity to take the controls of an airplane. That experience demonstrates something important. Madison's proud tradition of aviation education is not just history, it is taking flight once again. Madison, like Wisconsin, has a rich aviation heritage. By naming the school after Willa Brown, we would honor not only a pioneering aviator, but also an educator leader whose life continues to inspire young people, especially students who don't often see people who look like them celebrated in our public spaces. MMSD has the opportunity to become one of the first school districts in the nation to name an elementary school after Willa Beatrice Brown. In doing so, the kids in this school, only 2 miles from our airport, will no longer see a tall airport fence, but instead a short hop to a lifetime of opportunity. I do thank you for your time.
Thank you, Farid. We appreciate hearing from you and your comments. And at this time, I'm going to remove you from the meeting. Have a good evening. All right, I will be bringing in our next public speaker, and that is Pam Vitale. Hi, Pam.
Hi, can you see me?
We can and we can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just going to mute my TV here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
right. Before you start,
go ahead.
I got a little spiel for you. Okay. So thank you for your excitement. So again, we're glad that you were able to join us this evening. As a reminder, you do have up to 3 minutes to speak. And so you will see a timer on the screen to help you also to pace yourself. And if you're still speaking after 3 minutes, I will respectfully ask you to wrap up your comments. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So I'm Pam Vitale. I'm actually a teacher at Lindbergh Elementary School, and I'm in my 17th year of being there. So I'm very much a part of the community. I love the Lindbergh community. And so just a couple of points that I wanted to make. First off, what I really would like people to consider when they're naming Lindbergh, to not name it after a person. It seems like that's why a lot of these schools are being renamed because of people, they've done things in their past, and I totally get why we're going to rename it. And, hopefully by not naming it after a person, we don't have to go down this path again years from now. One and I just wanted to kind of explain the name that I had put out there. I had put out there something about Sandhill Crane Elementary. And the reason for that is the Sandhill Cranes are a huge part of the Lindbergh school atmosphere and population. They come to the school every fall, every spring. The kids know what they are. When I used to teach on that side of Lindbergh, when they would come in the fall and the spring, it's almost like I had to stop teaching because the kids were super excited to see them. We have a mural on the side of our school, and the Sandhill Crane is a very prominent figure in the school. And I know that the kids really enjoy seeing them there. And the Sandhill Cranes are just a big part of our population, you know. But I think, I guess one of my bigger points is if we can try to find a name that's not named after somebody and maybe something, you know, that's over that area or part of that community as such, you know, because I put a lot of time and effort into that school. I really love that school, and I just want to make sure that it gets the proper name that it deserves. And that's it. All right.
Thank you, Pam. We really appreciate that you were able to join us and share your comments.
You bet. You bet. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Have a good
Yep.
evening.
Yep.
All right, and I am now pulling in our fifth and final registrant at this time, and this is Linda Arvinsaba. Hi, Linda.
Hello. Let me get my camera on.
Yep, I'll give you time. There we go. Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad that you were here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And so I will tell you when to start, and I have a little spiel first that you didn't get to hear yet. You'll have up to 3 minutes to speak as a reminder. You will see a timer on your screen to help you pace yourself. If you are still speaking after 3 minutes, I will respectfully ask you to wrap up your comments, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, and you may begin.
All right, well, good evening. My name is Linda Arvinsaba. I am the daughter of the late Song Koo. I would like to comment in support of renaming Lindbergh to Song Koo Elementary. First of all, being selected as one of the finalists is already an honor for our family, and we want to thank the committee for giving us the opportunity to share his story. My father was among the first Hmong to make Madison his home. He arrived with very little and only carrying hope for a better future for his family. He was a true North Sider, residing at Northport Apartments. Through hard work and opportunities this community provided him, he became the first Hmong graduate of UW-Madison. My father deeply valued education and helped pave the way for others to pursue their own educational journeys. Although his life was cut short by leukemia, his legacy continues to inspire generations of students and families. His impact lives on through lives that he's touched, reinforcing his enduring presence and place in Madison's history. My father was not a famous celebrity or an elected official. He never sought recognition. He was simply an immigrant who believed deeply in education, family, and giving back to his community. His journey, I believe, reflects the realities of many Madison students and families who are working to build that stability and opportunities. His story represents the resilience and determination of students who navigate between cultures and languages while facing systematic barriers. So naming a school after my father would provide students with a deeply relatable role model, someone who not only succeeded, but did so under circumstances that may be very similar to their own. This would not only honor one individual, but also the values that Madison strives to instill in every student. Resilience, opportunity, service, but the belief that every child, regardless of where they come from, can achieve extraordinary things. His significance to Madison School lies not only in his achievements, but in how his life reflects the lived experiences, values, and aspirations of many of the students within the district. Our family is just one of many immigrant families that planting new roots here in Madison. We are grateful for the opportunities the city has given us, and we hope my father's story will continue to inspire generations of students to dream without limits, rise above challenges, and believe that education can really, really transform lives. Every child deserves to walk into a school named after someone whose life reflects maybe their very own story. So someone's journey that will help remind them that they belong, that they are valued, and that their dreams are within reach. Thank you for your time.
Linda, thank you. We're glad you were able to join us. Thank you for your comments. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, and so those were our public comment that evening, just making sure that everyone is able to see them, knowing that folks had different access issues. And then also going back to the agenda, and I am towards, let me scroll up. I'm towards the bottom of page 65, just providing trends as far as what we've heard. So I compiled all the comments we've heard since the very beginning, when people even propose the names based on our public hearing list. And so for Jeffrey Clay Erlinger, and if you're not able to
Chelsea, did you say, excuse me, did you say page 65?
No, page 5, sorry. Bottom of page 5, going towards now the top of page 6.
Okay, I was like,
Yep. I actually, when I look at this document is 103 pages long. So 65 makes sense, Betsy.
Yeah.
All right. And so taking all the comments from the very, very, very beginning when people submitted names based on our public hearing list. If you can't see it on your phone, it's fine. I'll go over it. But Jeffrey Clay Erlinger, overwhelmingly positive support. Commenters strongly advocate for Jeff Erlinger, highlighting his tireless advocacy for people with disabilities and his dedication to making Madison accessible for everyone. Supporters note that despite being a quadriplegic, he served on numerous city committees and embodied the motto, "It doesn't matter what I can't do, what matters is what I can do." Many feel he would be an exceptional, inspiring role model for all students and a champion of civil discourse. Song Q also has had overwhelmingly positive support since the beginning of our process. Supporters emphasize Song Q's profound impact as a pioneer and leader in the Hmong community. I'll also remind the committee that based on the audit, we do not have any schools named after Hmong leaders. As a refugee who helped thousands of others resettle in Wisconsin and the first Hmong student to graduate from UW-Madison, he is celebrated for his commitment to education, language preservation, and community building on Madison's North Side. Commenters view him as a powerful representation of the American dream and resilience. Shirley Abrahamson has received strong support. Praise for being the former Chief Justice, is as a trailblazer and a phenomenal role model for children of all ages, particularly young girls. Ada Deer has also received strong support, and on the flag. These are not in a particular order. I'm purposely not giving tallies because we're not at that place. And back to the chair's comments, Rob, we're not focused on tallies right now. So Ada Deer, strong support. Supporters highlight her legacy as an Indigenous female from the Menominee Nation, as the first female from a tribe to graduate from UW-Madison, and a fierce advocate for Native American rights and education. Commenters feel she is highly deserving of recognition, noting the current lack of public monuments honoring her contributions in Madison. And then other notable suggestions based on our public hearing list from the very beginning of our process. Laurel Clark supported her for her legacy as an astronaut, providing an awe-inspiring reason for children to dream and explore. Sandhill Crane / Robin, supported by those who prefer nature-based or Indigenous regional names to give students a sense of community, place, and local history. Northport suggests as a geographic alternative that gives students a solid sense of place and neighborhood belonging. And then Willa Beatrice Brown, Clarence Sherrod, and Alfred M. Gorham also received individual mentions of support in the comments. I know we've also talked about as a committee member, as a committee, there's also, and it's beautiful, a larger amount of names pertaining to animals, wildlife that are in our Indigenous language. And so I'm trying to sift through all of those, flagging that as of right now, based on public comment, the Indigenous name for Robin is the one that's rising to the top. And then lastly, just continues to be a sentiment on the opposition to naming schools after people, which we've also discussed as far as that is still part of our policy. At this time, Chair, would you like to discuss your summaries? And then knowing that we can give folks 15 minutes to also just read through that spreadsheet again, so everyone's super grounded and in the same place for our discussion?
I don't think 15 minutes would be enough to read
Okay.
15 pages, and I'm going to so I guess I'm going to thinking want to check with folks how you'd like to use the next chunk of our time. Those of you who did have a chance to read it, what were some of your observations and maybe comments that weren't included in Chelsea's very impressive summary of all those? I want to also say that, wow, that I have learned that the difference between hearing somebody orally, passionately share their comments compared to writing them in comments was very profound to me. And apparently, I'm very susceptible to emotions that come verbally. I do want to. I don't know to say if the word would be correct, Chelsea, but when you said that the word for Robin is rising to the top, I think I saw that twice at most. So I'm not sure it was like a groundswell, but I did see that.
Oh, yes. Let me clarify. So I know we have several Indigenous names. So
Yeah.
that was the one that rose to the top out of all of our Indigenous names,
Yeah.
knowing that it isn't like there weren't like 100 comments, correct? But
Yeah.
just helping us to sift through all them. And I'll also add too, I'm open to whatever you all need, Chair. Last night, LVM took about 15 minutes to review their comments. And I know everyone has different processing speeds. Some folks, whatever you need. So thank you.
Thank you. Let me just see I guess by a show of hands. And did we lose Shahana?
We did. She messaged me privately that she would have to jump off.
Okay, but we still have
So
a quorum.
yep, we still have quorum, and we're not voting on anything technically right now anyways.
That's right. That's right.
And then you and I can follow up with Shahana to make sure she feels like she's totally up to speed.
Okay. I'm wondering, do people feel like they thank you for showing the video again? This was my second or third time watching it, and it was just as powerful. Do folks want to spend 15 minutes like reviewing the comments on their own, or do you feel like you've taken a look and you want to start discussing it? And sharing something, again, not trying to lobby people, but just adding more information, perhaps that jumped out at you that wasn't included in Chelsea's summary. What are folks' preferences? Because that's the bulk of the rest of this meeting, and then for us to share with you how we're going to go forward from here to get to the board meeting.
I'm ready to discuss.
Okay.
I'm ready to discuss.
Same for me.
I'm also ready. I reviewed earlier.
Well,
I'm okay too.
Good. Well, look at these good little folks.
Yes, I'm also ready to discuss.
Thanks, Mary. So, okay.
And
Yeah.
Robert had his hand raised. Robert?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I was under the impression that we were supposed to watch the video and read the comments beforehand, so I'm also ready to discuss.
Thank you. Yeah, we were, but Chelsea was trying not to embarrass anybody, and she needn't have, because we're also reliable and conscientious that we had, but that was fun. Good. So I guess I'm going to suggest that we just go round robin, and I'll take people's names and ask you for 30 seconds or so, and we'll keep going till we kind of dribble out. And I'll go by what I see on my screen, although they keep on moving around, jumping around about people. So let's start. I'm looking at somebody who's actually got their visual on. Fred, do you want to share some observations?
Sure. I would make these comments, and I also was very impressed. I must say that I share Betsy's admiration for the people who submitted verbally, because I thought those were some of the best 3-minute presentations that I've ever seen in my life. I thought they were well done. Where I come out, I mean, I'm just going to kind of tell you, I've kind of got a pecking order here. And there have been a number of good suggestions. I think a number of the ones that were mentioned this morning are good because they continued. We started with 49 and we got to 21, and I would hope a little bit in this meeting that we might concentrate on a few more. So to me, as recently as this week, I drove by Lindbergh and saw 3 sandhill cranes right on the lawn, right next to the school. So sandhill crane, they really are thrilled. They are in that neighborhood, and I just think that's a great name for the school. So that, as of right now, that would kind of be my first choice. My second choice, I was very impressed by the gentleman who spoke on behalf of Willa Brown. I didn't know that there was an aviation academy in Madison, and I thought he made a very compelling point right near the end that the school is just 2 miles from the Dane County Airport. And I just think she would be a tremendous role model for what I know of. Then after that, there's a number of good suggestions, and I'm kind of doing this almost as I go along here. But I guess I'd say I do think, I said this right in the evaluations. My sons had Jeffrey Erlinger as a religious school teacher, and we're not always that enthusiastic about religious school, but they were very enthusiastic about Jeff Erlinger. They thought he was very interesting, one of the 2 top teachers that they liked there. And I thought the quote that was read, of it doesn't matter what I can't do, it matters what I can do, is just outstanding. So I think that would be a good pick. That'd be my number 3. And my number 4 that I just kind of arrived at this morning, it's tough. I think the Hmong gentleman, Hung Ku, is a good suggestion.
Thong Q.
Thong Q. Okay, and I still am not. I know I've seen his name spelled before, but I haven't looked at it recently. And also Northport certainly captures the area, but I guess if I were to pick a 4th choice, I'd probably go with Northport because it's geographical. However, I don't know that, the north side is, I lived on the north side. It was my first starter home of 3 homes. And it's a nice area, but I just think the other 3 names maybe have a little more oomph to them. So that would be my top 3: Sandhill Crane, Willa Brown, and Jeffrey Erlinger.
Okay, thanks, Red. Appreciate your saying that. We don't necessarily need to hear what people's actual votes are. Kind of like I'm looking for like what moved you and what additional information.
Good point. And I'm not there yet by any means.
Yes, and to remind folks that the public comment period is not over.
Yeah.
There will be more coming in today, more coming in tomorrow, and on Monday, you're going to get a finalized list of the 15-page 0.2 font is going to be that many pages longer because you'll have a chance. And knowing Chelsea, I'm sure she'll highlight where the new ones started from where we were, so that you don't have to read all over again. So with that, I also before we go forward, I'm just wondering if we all agree that the Stephanie Hancock, is that her name? Stephanie Hancock? Darlene, I'm sorry, mixing up an LVM name. Darlene Hancock. I don't know if Brenda and Anthony are mother and daughter, mother and son, but they both were named Brown. And what I heard them saying in the public hearing was advocating for let's get the show on the road of the Stevens renaming, which is in the next batch. And that they think, particularly Brenda was saying, it would be almost criminal to put her name on any building other than Stevens, and that she believes that's what her family wants. I wouldn't want to have that secondhand. I would want to check with the family before we ruled her out on that basis. But that's what I heard them.
Can I chime in on that one too? Because I read the names and the people that submitted them.
Yes.
Our MSBR person.
Tiffany, can I just pause you because I want to give some additional context real quick because I've been working directly with the Browns. So just if I could pause you 1 second, Tiffany, thank you. So To back up a little bit, just a reminder, Stevens and Van Heist are slated to possibly be next. It is ultimately up to district administration and to the board who is next in the queue. I'll also flag that they have been waiting 4 years too, just like Lindbergh's been waiting. All those kind of came in at the same time. So Van Heist, Lindbergh, and LVM all have been waiting up to 4 years at this point. I've met with the Browns a couple times, and they are mother-son. And I did let them know that we've discussed this, and there is no guarantee that Stevens would be named if it's selected to be named after Darlene Hancock. They completely understand that. And what I'm hearing from the community is that there is the hope that Darlene Hancock would be considered for Stevens, and that Darlene Hancock, while they appreciate that it has made the list and that the committee has made it towards the public hearing list, again, they feel it would be more appropriate for it to be on Stevens, knowing that that is not a guarantee. Tiffany, please go ahead.
Okay.
You're on mute. There you go.
I know because I read the people that made the suggestions. The person that made the suggestion is our MSCR site director. She is this wonderful African-American lady. She actually attended Glenn Stevens and looked up to her. So I think that's why she put that name, like just looking at the name and knowing who that was. And I'm pretty sure that's why she put the name. Was super impressed. She was open enrolled at Glenn Stevens. That wasn't her neighborhood school. Her parents took her there. And I'm pretty sure that is why she put that name on that list. I know we could go to her for more information, but I know when I read the list and I know the names, just a little more context behind it.
And Tiffany, I would agree, and also add to, I think people are fearful that Stevens is not going to get renamed. And so that's also because people have been waiting 4 years, right? Just like you all have been. So thank you so much for that, Tiffany. And I also saw Gail had her hand up.
Oh, I was just going to make just a caution. And I don't know anything about it, but Willa Mae Brown, I mentioned before, she was, I think now I don't have it right in front of me. I think she was married for 37 years, and that's her family name, not her married name. Now, so Chelsea, you might want, I don't know if what this people I would think of, what the sensitivity is to taking somebody's one name and excluding their other name. I have no context, but that might be something that might be looked at.
Are you talking, Gail, about Willa Beatrice Brown?
Yeah. Sorry. I said Willa Mae. Sorry. Yeah, Willa Beatrice Brown. And I don't have it right in front of me, but she was married, I think, for around 37 years. And that was not her married name. And that was her married name. Last name is the name she went with for that entire 37 years. But I don't know, I have no idea. It just might be something to look into. That's all.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to Cynthia. Cynthia, do you want to just share some observations? We don't need your rank vote today.
Yes,
Don't
thank
do
you.
what Fred did.
That's okay, Fred. It's all love here.
Right.
I think just hearing what people had said about Darlene Hancock, and I think that is more kind of a conversation if and when Stevens is involved in the renaming process. The one thing I did have a question about is that from the notes I saw several schools like LVM, Chavez, they also voted for some of the same folks that we did. So for instance, Ada Deer. And so I'm wondering what happens if we both kind of get to the point where we're selecting the same person and what that process would be. So if LVM wanted Ada Deer, Lindbergh wanted Ada Deer, I guess what the process would be on that. So that's just one question that I have lingering regarding that. I think that based on
let me jump in there, Cynthia. Chelsea is talking with the board secretary about how the board is going to go about their business on August 24th. Are they going to take Elvium because they were in the queue first, then us, then Chavez, or are they going to mush together all of them at the same time? Because if they do it one at a time, we might want to have the right to put in more than 4. But Chelsea said she's going to talk about that later after we get through our discussion. So I'll just hold that there and stop interrupting you, Cynthia, and let you.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the main thing sticking out for me. I saw, a lot of the public comments on the spreadsheet, and I think they were all very thoughtful and just had very strong cases for the person that they were advocating for. And I also hear the piece about naming, after people as well. So I think perhaps striking that balance in our final selections between having some names, because technically that is still permissible under our process to name after people, and then also just having some I guess, human names as well that reflects the community. And that's really all I have.
Okay. Thank you for that, Cynthia. And I would point out that that they're loud, the people who say don't name them after people, right? They have exclamation points and they're loud about that. I don't mean that in a negative way, but it sticks out. But when I look at the list of all the comments, there were definitely more people urging names, humans, than there were not. But I'm sensitive to that. And I would just point out, as Chelsea did, who just took a bio break, that the policy does seem to favor people, in that 2 of our 4 have to be humans. And we'll talk about how that's going to work out in our rankings and all later too. But yeah, I heard that. But again, in the 15 pages, if I counted them up, it would be a minority, but a very, very loud one. Thank you. Nan, you're next on my screen if you want to unmute and share what any of your observations are.
All right. Well, astonishment for one, thinking how are we going to get from 51 to 4? But as I reviewed, and maybe I'm a written person, as I reviewed the spreadsheet, I was blown away by both the comments and the breadth of commentators, or kind of the diversity of them in different names. And I don't have a rank ordering, but I have to say the ones that got the most attention, I felt relieved that I could come up with a list that was about 8 choices. So that was a great relief. And I do have to comment, I started to look at who's saying this, and maybe it was generated by Betsy saying, it's valuable to know if it's the family and just the family, and that doesn't make it more or less, or if it's one person that says something astonishing rather than 25 people. But I was very, very moved by the fact that a former mayor commented on Jeff Clay Erlinger, Dave Cheslevich, and a former school superintendent. And I noted that, plus a lot of ordinary citizens. And I can't get away from the fact, thinking of the role model for kids, of that we've mentioned it already. It doesn't matter what I can't do, more important what I can do. And I just am astounded at what, in this very short life, this person did, not only to impact Madison, but really to make a national commitment. So that one way, way jumped out for me. I also was noting that there is nothing for Ada Deer in this community, and that shocked me. And there's some very good information in the comments that people offered. I'm kind of taken, personally, I don't have sandhill cranes walking. Well, occasionally they're in my neighborhood, but I can see the beauty of that. And from day one, when I found out the Ho Chunk connection to Yahara, I thought that had a lot of neat stuff. And then the comments from Song Q's family, and some of that was the verbal testimony, but I spent a lot of time studying the written. So those are my thoughts, and I feel confident that we can get to 8, and hopeful that if we're not the first, that the school board will see that and let us have some alternates to sub in if one of ours is taken. Those are my preliminary thoughts. Hope they're useful.
As of today, August 4th, and like the Democratic primary, things may change, right? So we're in a period where everything's changing. So we have a week to go. Thank you so much for those thoughtful comments, Nan. Tiffany, do you and your parrot have some comments for us?
My other ones are in their cage right now. I thought it was interesting to look because you got to put in your zip code and the ad and like your city and your whatever, where most of the comments were coming from. Most of them didn't represent our little neighborhood. They were from all over Madison, especially the ones for Song Q. They came from all over. There were ones from Minnesota. We had somebody who heard from their parents and said, "Yep, put the Laura Clark in there from Brooklyn." I'm like, who on earth in Brooklyn is hearing about Lindbergh being renamed? But I think the Song Ku family definitely said, "Oh, this is public. We can pull from wherever." I'm interested in like, okay, what about our neighborhood too, and the people that are going to be going to this school? I think that was semi left out. I don't know if it wasn't well known because I went by the zip codes and I'm like, oh, that's on the east side. Well, that's not near us. That's on the west side. That's on the west side. I'm glad everybody was involved and like they want this to be a community renaming. And what about the people that it like definitely impacts? I don't feel like they've totally been heard from, but I don't know how to remedy that either. I like the choices. I love the feedback that we've been getting, and like part of me wonders what about the people that it's directly impacting.
Okay. Did you have some that were jumping out in there for you, Tiffany?
Like I read all the like I listened to Pam. Pam is one of my co-workers. I love the Sandhill Crane ones. They are definitely there. Like I talked about before, they tap on the windows. They have to pull their shades so the kids aren't flocking to the windows? And I hear that everyone I talk to is a strong like we don't want names. We don't want names. We don't want to do this 10 years from now again. Like I can see the consensus behind like Song Ku, and I'm like the connection, and I like the Jeffrey Earlinger one. So yeah, those are my 3 right now.
Okay. Thank you. Mary from way over in Wanakee, but has the connection because she's a volunteer and she's got a grandson there.
Yes, I do. I'm kind of with having listened to some of the family for the Darlene Hancock one. I feel we should respect, but I guess we do need to have more research on that also. But I'm also hearing a lot of don't name it after somebody. I do have 2 names that I have picked that I have liked, and I won't say them. And then I have for sure one non-person name that I do really like, and that's the Sandhill Crane one again too, just because I do volunteer there. I see all the Sandhill Cranes. I see how the kids love them, and so that's one of mine. And I haven't thought any further, but I just feel like I don't know how we could get more, as Tiffany said, local people who are in that school area to get an input. I had put out to my friends that I have there for the public comment. Nobody put anything in. And and I even asked my grandson, I said, what would you like to see it named? And he goes, I don't really care, Grandma. So I'm not, I know he loves the cranes and stuff too, but he just wants to go to school and learn is his big thing. So yeah. Yeah, he's focused on learning, which is a good thing. So I just have those 3, and I'm still trying to figure out what a 4th would be for me, but more research on a couple of them and just honoring the one set of family that said they would really like their person to go to this other school. That's my thoughts.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
I think your comments are right on. And I want to remind you that what Chelsea has shared with us at previous meetings, that in upcoming renamings, what is it, Chelsea? There has to be like a certain percentage of people
Yes.
from the community who even ask for it to be renamed. And
Yeah.
and to your point, maybe there's ways that Chelsea can relay to the school board that would like to see built in the process, maybe, like a public hearing at that school of just that community or something to really make sure it reflects at least what the current neighborhood's feelings are. But,
Yes.
the fact that some people don't care, I feel bad for Chelsea because she's put in a lot of time caring.
I know.
But it
Well, that's my 10-year-old grandson speaking. I don't care, Grandma. I just want to go to school.
If that's the reason he doesn't care about the name, it's a very good reason to not care about it. So I'm not going to quibble with that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Angie, you're up. If you want to demute and tell us.
Sure. So I've chatted with my son who attends Lindbergh as well as some of his friends and read them the list, I think of 21, 22 names that went forward. They were enthusiastic also about the Sandhill Crane name. They see the cranes, they know the cranes. The cranes walk by our house sometimes. So that was a little exciting to them. I think it was interesting to read all of the public comments that have come in recently, the written and the presented live and now recorded comments. So those were interesting. I think the volume of comments in favor of naming the school after Song Q were interesting. I will note that I also noted the same as Tiffany, where many of those comments were not from folks who were local, but from folks who are maybe part of his family or part of his extended community. I think that naming the school after Darlene Hancock may not honor the wants and needs of Darlene's family and people that knew her, because there is seems to be some community sentiment related that they would rather only Stevens be renamed after her, even if it's not a guarantee. And so hearing that feedback, talking to my son and his friends has helped me kind of winnow my list of names that I am more enthusiastic about down to about, 6 or 7. So I also am hearing the let's not name these schools after people anymore sentiment. I realize it is a minority, but it is a vocal minority. I can see the utility of that because I don't think it will ever need to be renamed. And so looking at some of those names, I am in favor of the Northland name only because the neighborhood is Northland Manor. Lindbergh is a neighborhood school. There is no busing at Lindbergh except for a small group of 4K kiddos. And so even with boundary adjustments due to the size of Lindbergh, I can't imagine Lindbergh would become a school where children are being bused there. Could be wrong, but so I do like Northland over Northport, but willing to listen to other options as well as say Yahara Heights or something, which is the big county park down the hill from Lindbergh.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anything more, Angie?
Nope.
Gail, did you okay, Gail, did you want to jump in with something?
Well, I just wanted to say something. And not, the mention of the word Yahara in connection with the Ho Chunk is, although the Ho Chunk called it the Catfish River, and the word that the Ho Chunk used for catfish is, in quotes, there would have to be really changed to make it sound like Yahara. So the origin of the name Yahara is not necessarily tied to the Ho Chunk, although the Ho Chunk were in that area. So Yahara Heights would probably be more accurately identified as a geographic name than with connection. There's another thing that says that it might be an Ojibwa word because Farwell, who was the guy that wanted the lakes all named for Indian names and chose them not, they weren't Ho-Chunk. The only one is Wingra that has a Ho-Chunk relevancy. Mendota's Dakota, and the rest are probably Ojibwa. And there's some mention that it might be an Ojibwa name, but it's a fine name. It's just probably more accurately looked at. I love the name, but it's more accurately looked at as a geographic name associated with what was the river. Just a quibbly point. That's it.
Thanks for that clarification. Isn't it great to have a historian and researcher amongst us, huh? Robert?
Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing. Definitely a lot of what has been shared resonates with me, but I have a few different thoughts. Really appreciate the thoughtful comments that people shared through submissions and those who voiced in. I think the comments about um, not naming after people and the amount of time and energy and perhaps finances that are going into the process are important to think about and be heard. But I also think we as a committee are being tasked with putting forward to people as possible names. So if that is what the board is asking of us, that's what we have to do. And I along with, I think all of us, are privileged volunteers as part of this process. And so um, it's great to be able to participate. I think at this point, I'm really thinking about that rubric going from strong to excellent and really thinking critically. I think all of these options that we're getting are really great, but I'm pushing myself to go back to the research and really thinking critically about it. So with that in mind, um, before I share some thoughts about some of the proposals that were mentioned, I also, to kind of piggyback off of what was said, the community that was represented in those responses was powerful, and it was also noticeable our community members that were not as present. Our student body at our school is two-thirds Black or African American, and students who are two or more races, with one of them being Black or African American. Um, the folks that responded were fairly homogenous and not representative of that community. So that was something I was thinking about. Um, and then specifically to a few of the suggestions that were brought up, I think Sandhill Crane is a really strong choice. I was noticing that I think the Ho Chunk name that was originally submitted with that was not part of the submissions that we were considering. I believe it was PJAW, but I no longer have access to the Ho Chunk database that was shared. So I wonder if we can double check that and maybe have that included. I'm not sure if that's possible at this point. Um, and then for the people that received a number of nominations, I hope to go back and continue to read about them, but some things that I was thinking critically about. Song Q, clearly an amazing legacy. I did also want to lift that he was a Christian missionary. That's something that's included in most of the research that was provided, and something that, as someone who is raised Jewish and has native background, I feel somewhat uncomfortable about. So that will probably affect how I consider that nomination. Definitely echo what has been said about Willa Beatrice Brown. I think she was just an amazing historical figure. Ada Deer as well. And similarly with Jeff Erlinger, I know we talked about this a bit last time, but I believe he identified as white. He is white passing, and as someone who is raised as white and Jewish, it's something that I'm thinking critically about as well. So thank you.
Okay. Before I share any comments, I want to reopen it based on anything that anybody said. Does anyone have some additional comments they'd like to make? Just wave your little hand or something. And Chelsea, you tell me what's Robert's Rules of Order. Am I allowed to say anything, or as chair, should I keep my comments to myself?
Oh, no, you absolutely can say something as well. And then to Robert's point, Robert, I am going back and looking in the documents because I did copy and paste from the proposals. So I'm double checking the Sandhill Crane one that you brought up. So thank you. And And right now, everyone does have access to the original names submitted, how they were submitted, and what was said. But I am going back through and double checking. Oh, Crane, that was a difference. Got it. Because one was Sandhill Crane, the other one was just Crane. Thank you, Gail. So Gail put it in there. Okay, got it. Okay.
One other note. So although there were basically, I think from the Ho Chunk dictionary, I think there's basically two cranes that might be associated with it. They would have only been using crane for the native cranes to Wisconsin. So Sandhill crane would definitely be a native to Wisconsin. So rather than thinking of the vast majority of cranes in the world, the Ho Chunk would have been referring to cranes that they encountered in Wisconsin. Oh, you're gonna come say hello? Come on, she said. I have one.
One of the six is here.
I have one.
Oh,
This is Makayo. He's 3 years old. Are you gonna wave? Come on.
Good.
You're gonna say meow. Well, he's a cat right now.
He's a cat. I can see that. One of the cat's ears and all. Hi, Makayo.
Can you say hi? Can you say hi?
meow,
Okay.
Makayo, meow.
What?
Cats don't talk.
You can talk just really quickly. And we'll. Oh, cats don't talk. I'm sorry.
What do cats say, Makayo? Oh, they meow. Thank you. Learn something every day. I appreciate that, Makayo. Very good.
Okay, can the cat say meow bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
They drink milk too. Well, it's hard to follow that one. I'm not nearly as cute. But let me say that I think all the names that are swirling around from our conversations are really strong. And I feel like as a group, we're kind of moving towards, a smaller pile, so to speak. So I appreciate that. The four things that are kind of guiding me now were a comment Nan made weeks ago that we're looking for the bullseye, which is one that really fits this school and, wouldn't be as appropriate on any other school. One of those. Number two, I'm thinking about what, again, Nan and some of you others have said, educators, about what name gives educators something to work with, that either because of who the person was or who the name was or who their motto was or whatever. So I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about what Chelsea said about I kind of resent the policy saying that somebody has to be prominent, because if we're going prominent, we're going to stick with, older white males forever, right? At this juncture. So I see it as a time to make somebody prominent who, as some of the commenters said in the earlier things, should be prominent. The most example that I think is not on our list anymore being Irene Sendler, who, never touched a foot in the United States and rescued a lot of children from the Nazis. I think it was in Poland. But there are other names that we're considering that weren't prominent. And I think the two best examples of that probably on our list now that we've been discussing are Willa Beatrice Brown and Hong Soo. There's a reason maybe that Hong Soo isn't more prominent and that it's only his family commenting on it, because he, wasn't on TV or reported in newspapers and all, but Lordy did, that from the comments did a lot of work. And fourth consideration that I have is what's this specific community and what's unique to this community. And I'm struck by Tiffany and others who say, the comments don't seem to come from that neighborhood, which doesn't necessarily bother me. Did I say honk Q too? See, Fred, you did that to me. It's song Q.
Robert putting that on. That's great.
Yeah. Sing a song. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. You think I'd have that down by now. But anyway, but I would also point that communities change. I've been working with Kennedy School on some literacy thing, and they're telling me that, wow, the population there is totally different than it was 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't want to pick a name that matches the community today, but, won't later on. So anyway, with those in mind, I guess, a few little comments. The Sandhill Crane thing, name that you're all talking about, I can see how, unless we do something really terrible in this community, the Sandhill Cranes will continue to exist and will be in the neighborhood. Want to remind everybody that Robert, I think it was, who told us that Stoughton has a school named Sandhill Crane, which doesn't make it ruled out to me, but and I don't think it will upset the first responders in Madison that there's one in Stoughton, but that there is a Sandhill Crane School in Stoughton. The Willa Beatrice Brown piece I like because she's African American. She's a woman. It goes beautifully with your current Flyers thing, and there's a lot to be said and isn't prominent, but she would be if we would become if we name the school after that. And I think going back to that other rubric, there's maybe 3 to 5 African American women for whom our schools are named now because we're doing better. Song Q. I know up the street over at Lakeview School is a very heavily immigrant Hmong school. In fact, I think it's a Hmong immersion school. So that's in the neighborhood, but it's not this school. And Jeff Erlinger, we've all heard a lot about him. What wasn't mentioned today, I think, is number one, that he actually attended Lindbergh Elementary School because it was the only school that was accessible when he started school. And don't really need to remind you, but we're removing the name of a rabid anti-Semite and a person who really believed in eugenics. And if Jeff Erlinger had been alive in the days of Charles Lindbergh and Adolf Hitler, he would have been killed. He had a disability, a very significant disability. He was Jewish, and so that name is kind of the 180 from Charles Lindbergh. Also, Jeff's legacy continues. PBS has started a new, I don't know what it is, series or program or cartoon, and there's a new PBS character, a little thing called Jeff Mouse, that after his appearance on Mr. Rogers and the continuing legacy that he has, they created a little character named Jeff Mouse. But I am very excited about all the names that we've been talking about today. I think they're all strong. They all meet my criteria of being in the bullseye category, giving educators something really great to work with, prominent, or we'll make them prominent, dang it. So I love all that. I'll stop now and see if, once again, one more round. Anyone have anything more? Fred.
Oh, Betsy, before Fred goes, I did find more information regarding Robert's point. Can I just share that? Because that might affect this conversation.
Okay,
So so I did go back and I looked. So PIA was one of our ones that fell in the middle bucket. And so it did not have a score high enough. Here it is right here. The Ho-Chunk name for Crane. So that did not score high enough for it to go to our final list. And then when we reviewed as a group, the group did not decide for that to also go to the finalists. So providing more information, because I know it's confusing between Sandhill, Crane, and Crane. So we did discuss this one, and that's why it's not on the final list. I'll also let the group know too, let me stop sharing, that as a reminder, there is a process where schools do want to change their mascots. And we've talked about that before too. And so flagging for the group that one of the attributes is a unique name across all 3 schools. It's been talked widely about not naming a school after or even similar or the same as another school in the surrounding area in Wisconsin. I'm also just as a district facilitator hearing like this love for Sandhill Cranes, and I love, Fred, that you drove by and you saw them. I'm offering that also as a way, knowing that kids love it, our community loves it, the neighbors love it, where it could be a happy medium, and thinking about just the future of Lindbergh and the whole piece. It does make me think about, I have a lot of wild turkeys in my neighborhood. I don't know if Stevens, that's my feeder school. They want to become the whatever Stevens wild turkeys. But you all get what I'm saying with that, just in hearing the love and appreciation for this and also seeing the support from the community. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, I just have a very minor comment, and then Chelsea made an additional comment that I'll add something that I don't know is particularly relevant. But in any event, one minor correction of Betsy's outstanding comments, at least that I understood from Robert. I understand the school in Stoughton is just named Sandhill, not necessarily Sandhill Crane. So I do think, and I haven't done any research on that or checked that out, but in fact, there's a school in Stoughton named Sandhill. Naming this one Sandhill Crane would still be different, And again, as Betsy pointed out, I don't know that it makes a big difference one way or the other, but for whatever it's worth.
Fred, I just Googled it. It is Sandhill Elementary. You are correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that too.
Yeah. So for that reason, and Sandhill Crane is very appealing to me, and I know a number of you. For whatever it's worth, since Chelsea made this comment, we lived, and another person made a comment about choosing Glenn Stevens. That's exactly what my family did. We lived between John Muir and Glenn Stevens, and for reasons I won't go into now, chose to send our kids to Glenn Stevens. And once upon a time, on a Saturday morning, I counted 21 wild turkeys in my backyard. So I'll leave it there.
Wow. They must have been standing still that you were able to count.
I did a quick count. It was right from the upstairs bedroom.
Well, and they have no problem standing still, especially when it's rush hour and you're trying to drive through these neighborhoods, right? They have no problem letting us know who's boss.
One time, my kid actually was walking up the street, was accosted by the wild turkeys, came back, and so that he could catch a bus to. We also sent our kids to a different school, the one that's I'm forgetting the name, but it was the middle school because Jefferson at the time was too crowded, but it had outstanding teachers. Nan was at that school. What was the junior high school, Nan, that you taught at?
Cherokee?
No, I'm forgetting.
Spring Harbor.
Could I forget that? Of course. So in any event, one time I had to save my oldest son, who's now 40, from the wild turkey because he couldn't get to the bus. All right.
Oh yeah, that's a real thing. And Nan, I gotta say, I love how your glasses match your t-shirt. I just love monochromatic. I also I wanted to quickly give gratitude to Fred, especially. We've had some amazing conversation regarding inclusivity. And we have named almost in every single meeting the prominence of older white men being named after our schools and going away from that. And I really want to call out Fred with appreciation for how he has navigated, but also supported these conversations. And I also want to give my appreciation to anyone else on this call who maybe their partner is a white man. They have a loved one who's a white man, a friend, a family member. I just really appreciate the depth of conversation and also the acceptance of this very, very honest conversation from this group. So thank you all very much.
Thanks. Okay, one final point, just a reminder, and I think I brought this up weeks ago. There is a Sandberg elementary school. It's on the north side too. So, I don't think we're ever going to call our place Sandy, but there's Sand Hill in Stoughton, Sandberg in north side of Madison, and we're talking about a possibility here of being Sand Hill Crane. Okay. If there's no other comments that folks wanted to bring up now, I wanted to ask Chelsea to share a kind of difficult decision that she and the district have come to about a name on our list. Chelsea?
Yes, thank you, Betsy. So everyone, I'm going to read a statement that I have prepared regarding this next step, and then I'll answer questions that anyone on the committee has as best to my ability as possible. So next we need to discuss the naming submission for Milt McPike. I'd like to share guidance regarding the submission to keep our process smooth, objective, and anchored in our policy parameters. Some concerning feedback was brought forward regarding this nominee, specifically referencing research and documented incidences where certain leadership decisions caused harm within our community. In response, I consulted with the MMSD legal counsel and my supervisor on how we navigate this situation while staying faithful to Board Policy 6700 and the mission and vision of MMSD. Technically, based strictly on its score, the name would qualify to move forward in our process. Ultimately, it is entirely up to this committee to decide how you wish to proceed and what you want to do with this nominated name. However, from my leadership role as a district facilitator, my job is to protect this committee's focus and ensure our final recommendations embody the values, equity, and educational purpose of our district. Moving forward with candidates associated with leadership actions that cause documented harm, regardless of raw score, risks derailing our core mission, compromising policy alignment, and pulling focus away from candidates who fully reflect our district and community vision. To keep our process efficient, forward-looking, and fully aligned with 6700, it is my recommendation as a district representative to please consider removing Milt McPike from our final list.
Did you want to give any more detail about the nature of the allegations?
Yes.
And why you believe they are credible?
Yes. And so I want to first thank Tiffany, who went through the abundance of research from Gail. And thank you to our expert historian. And so there is documented instances in which harm was caused to certain communities within our district and within our community. What I'll add to that too is that, while things were from the past, the biggest reason why we're also renaming these schools is because of things that have come up from the past. And so in wanting to make sure we're inclusive, there was documentation in which there was harm caused to the LGBTQIA plus community. There is documentation in which harm was caused to female students or anyone who would be a proponent of feminism. I also want to name, out of respect to Milt McPike's descendants, I also want to name respect to the leadership that he provided that did not cause harm. I want to name those things. And as a district facilitator, because harm was caused, that is why it is my recommendation that his name be removed. I'll add quickly too that it came up in last night's meeting, and I'm going to be following up on this. There has been the repeated comments around how much does this cost? If we go with a name and we have to do it again later, that could be another expense. So I'm actually going to meet with the team today to see if we can do like an FAQ list on all the renaming websites to help the public to understand how much these cost, because I think that can also help with any feelings towards this decision. I'll name that it's hard to put a price exactly on it. And I told a reporter this because different renamings happen at different times. Lori Mancarey's took 2 years. The economy is different, tariffs, back order items, right? But I'll work with the team for there to be a good guesstimate. And I say this to also say that if the committee were to decide, because this is ultimately a committee decision, to move forward with Milt McPike, if he were up to the fore, if the board decided to select him, I anticipate as a district representative in this process that I would probably get a request down the road asking for this name to be reconsidered based on the documented evidence in which harm was caused.
Fred.
I have a few brief reactions. One of them is that none of us is perfect, and Milt McPike still, as I generally understand, is quite a revered name and respected name at Madison East High School. But it was also pointed out that and first of all, another thing I'd point out is there is a Milt McPike Park already. So we've got a park named for him. I don't know if at some point somebody's going to say that should be renamed. But in any event, since I associate him so much more with Madison East High School, and he has not come up in any of the discussions. His name, I don't think, was mentioned even once today by any of us in the discussions. I just think it would be better I agree that he should be removed, but I don't know if we need to have it maybe could just be our consensus this to that effect, and now we have 20 names. And we don't have to make a big public pronouncement in the minutes about removing his name. That's just kind of my thoughts.
So Fred, thank you for that. So let me name the process because you're bringing up process too.
Sure.
And let me back up even further. So I have a personal connection to Milt McPike as someone who grew up in Beloit and played against Madison teams. I fondly remember Milt McPike when we would come and play Madison East. He was very welcoming to Beloit teams as a principal. He was larger than life as most remember him. And so I was very grateful for his leadership because at that time, Beloit traveling to different schools, we were received not as warm in a lot of places. But with him, we were always received well and welcomed by him. So I want to name, I also have a personal connection in respecting his leadership. And even in having that, still being an inclusive leader and in being objective, knowing that while I had a positive experience, that was not the case across all groups. That is why I'm still going through with this recommendation. So I want to agree with you in that things are complex and things are complicated always. And two things can always be true as far as what we know, and people are multifaceted. What I'll also add then too, as far as the process, so I will need a formal vote on this. I also had to do the same thing, unfortunately, for Chavez, in which I gave the recommendation to remove Juan Lopez based on information that had come to me from the community. We did a formal vote and it was unanimous from the group that he was removed from the list. And I do this in a way too, in that I hope we have built enough trust, that I've built enough trust with all of you as a committee to also know in protecting not only you, but our process, that this would be my recommended route for us to take. So I understand what you're saying, not making it a big to-do. However, since it is on the final list, I will need a formal vote and to confirm the removal.
Okay. Interesting you mentioned Juan Lopez. I voted for him several times for school board, but I won't ask what that information was.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable probably in the same way Fred is. The allegations about Mr. Chavez were, the named victim, and they were very credible. So I think and I'm tempted to go the way I think that Fred is hinting, like, hey, he's not on the list, he's not bubbling up to the top anyway. Can't we just let it slide? And there's already a park, the East High Field House, blah, 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 let it go. But if I trust Chelsea's knowledge of the process, and I trust Chelsea being our advanced person, and I see, what would be worse? Let the name continue on and then come up next time and next time and next time. Us having a record of removing him based on our faith and trust in Chelsea, that she believes these were credible allegations that make him his name not appropriate for this elementary school right now, without getting all dirty and whatever and giving more fodder to whatever news people are watching this right now. I would entertain a motion to remove him from this list based on the credible allegations that Chelsea has received and reviewed, and I believe substantiated.
I second that.
I'm sorry, who was the motion?
I second.
A motion.
Oh.
And Tiffany moved and Mary seconded that we removed Milt McPike with heavy hearts and recognize the totality of the man's accomplishments and all the good he did. But for the reasons that Chelsea has reviewed, he's not going to be further considered and removed from our list for Lindbergh at this time. Any discussion about that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise hands or say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Okay, those who want to abstain?
Sorry, I rose my hand. I wasn't sure if I knew to say anything.
Okay, good. All right, I believe the motion has passed then. Okay, And so I think we're now at the point of the meeting, Chelsea, where you review for us where we go to get from here to next week, or did you want me to do that?
I'm happy to do that and then hop in on whatever I'm missing. And I'll also say thank you all for that vote and for trusting my recommendation. Leadership is tough, as we all know. And so thank you for leading in a way and thinking about inclusivity for our entire community, while also navigating that challenges are complex and multifaceted. So with that, we're going to go into what this final scoring process will look like. So thank you, Cynthia, for already raising the question as far as how is our board going to do this? So I am extending our board and especially our board president, Savion Castro, tremendous grace because this is their first time doing 3 at a time. Reminder to the public, they've always voted on just one name at a time. So the fact that we have 3 simultaneous and then we have several names that are also rising to the top similarly, the board secretary, as Chair Abramson mentioned, I'm working with her on really developing a process that will support the board, but also will take into account the hard work of the committee and also what the community is saying. So they are going to get a finalized package from me, just like you all are going to get by Monday and helping to support our final decision. They will receive first what the original scores were. So they will see Jeffrey Clay Erlinger is across all 3 buildings. In this building, it was a 1.14. In this building, it was a 2.5. In this building, it was a 3.15, right? That will help them to understand also which level it rose to as far as prioritization for up to 4. When we go into our process next week, we are going through ranking. We are not doing the rescoring of your names like we did the first time around. And as Betsy already said, I had a platform that worked. I tested it out with the chairs and the district reps. Dr. Goss, the principal, was on that call. It worked beautifully. I need to shift and pivot, but we will do a ranking system. And so if you're looking on towards the bottom of page 10, I created a flow chart and I got that feedback for a flow chart for this piece. So thank you all so much. There's a couple typos in that as I'm refining it, but it does go over our process. So I will screen share as well in case you can't see it on your phone. And go over that with everyone.
Is she a tech wizard or what? I mean, this girl knows how to move things.
Trying to be very kind. I've taught myself a lot, as Cynthia can attest, as my colleague. I'm constantly learning and trying to figure out how to navigate these spaces.
You're hearing screams come from her office, I bet, huh?
Yes. All right. And so here's the flow chart, and it says Mentimeter right now. That was the platform we were going to use. Regardless of the platform, this is still going to be our process. However, I need to build it. And so first you will rank the names and you have to rank at least 4. So you could choose to rank all 22 of your names. That is your choice. Or you could say this name automatically drops off for me, so I'm not going to rank it. But you need to rank at least 4 names to help us to figure out where our next steps are. That will be done live through a polling site. Your votes will be confidential. However, I will still be able to maintain your rankings for my own records. Then from there, with the chair, we will look at our top 8, and they will be ranked 1 through 8, where they lie. Then we'll have discussion around our top 8, what people are thinking, feeling, very similar to what we did for the public hearing list when we were thinking about final decisions and moving things around. We will then go into our second ranking vote, in which folks will select up to their top 4. And then we will look at the results live and we will see what our top 4 are. From there, we will go into conversation, and I'm going to stop sharing because this part is on the chart, but it's a little confusing. So because it's up to 4 and 2 of those have to be deceased names, technically that's half. What I'm gauging from all the committees, there's probably going to be the top 4 going to the board because you all had tremendous amount of numbers just to begin with, but we'll see. So if we have the top 4 and if 2 are names and we discuss and we want to, we'll do a formal vote on that as our unified voice around our list, great. If for some reason though in our top 4, say 3 are geographical places and only 1 is a prominent deceased person, the lowest geographical place would drop off. And then the top prominent deceased folks would then be would be a part of that 4. Because remember, of the 4, 2 have to be prominent deceased individuals. Then once we have our final list, like I said, that will go to a package to the board. And then I'm going to be sharing with the board what their rankings are. So for Jeffrey Clay Erlinger, for Lindbergh, it might be the number 1 name on the list. For Elvium, it might be the number 3 name on the list. And then for Chavez, it might be the number 2, right? The board's going to see all that to help them to make their decision. Okay, so if I see Jeffrey Clay Erlinger is more towards the top at Lindbergh as opposed to Elvium and Chavez, that will help them to understand maybe we're going to prioritize the name for this building when we're going to our final selection. I'll also add that that is a night where anyone can still provide public comment, even though the window has closed. And historically, that has been a night where folks show up either in person, because that is the main board meeting, August 24th. They either show up in person and get public testimony. There's also the hybrid capability, so anyone can sign up and they can be zoomed in into the auditorium. And so, like I said, in the past, especially for Lori Van Carey, there were a lot of folks who signed up. We heard beautiful live testimony. And then also a lot of people wrote in again to the board as far as what their support was or was not, and helping the board to make the decision. So right now, I don't have the exact finalized process, as the board secretary and I are working on that. We're going to continue working on that. She will work directly with the board president to make sure that I'm able to produce what they need to make a decision. And as soon as I have that finalized process, that will be shared with you all. And then I'll also be making sure it's shared with the public on the renaming website. So just again, in sum, when we meet next week, we're ranking them twice. We're looking at the top 8. Then we'll be looking at the top 4. We'll be finalizing our decision. Then those rankings for all 3 schools will go to the board to help them with their decision on any names that possibly are an overlap. Let me pause there for questions, or Chair, if you need to move me in a direction, because I just said a lot in a small amount of time. And the flow chart, also, I'll email it again in our summary so that you have that as well.
I'll just point out that during the meeting next week, depending on what system Chelsea lands on for the voting, hopefully it's going to be one of those where, boom, we put in our numbers, there's quiet for a couple of minutes while people are putting in their numbers, and then the top 8 pop up on the screen. Worst case scenario, she and her calculator take a 10-minute break while she's adding things up. But if I know Chelsea, it's going to be the fast way. So anyway,
and with that, Chair, you reminded me of something I mentioned last night. And so as soon as I have the platform finalized with my team, I'm actually going to make a video of how to do it, and I'm going to send it out to you all, because I realize, personally, I would be anxious live voting with a new platform that I'm just told the night of, right? Like that's hard. And Tiffany is nodding with me, like, as fellow educators, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'll make a video that I'm going to send out to everyone. So like, this is how we're voting, so that you can also preview it and feel comfortable. And then, as always, I'm willing to meet with anyone over Zoom to support them before the meeting. We are allowing absentee voting, so I appreciate our legal counsel, because this additional vote was not planned and some folks are on vacation, but we want to make sure everyone can vote. So I'm working out finalizing that process. That will be shared as well, as I consult more with our legal counsel. And then also, based on how we vote, I do recommend you use your computer. It's easier to see things. However, if you do need to use your phone, that's fine. Or if you're someone who maybe you just don't have access to a computer, I'm happy to give you, check out one of our Chromebooks to you. And or if you're someone who would still feel more comfortable that night having in-person support, I'm happy for anyone to, I can meet anyone at a library that's near your home, and or I could also meet you at my office downtown and work with you through it. Just knowing that this is a new way of working with a very, very weighty decision. And that's all I have to share.
You said that night,
Right.
but you meant that morning, next Wednesday morning, the 12th.
You're talking about August 12th.
August
12th.
Not night, morning. You all are my morning group. Yes.
Yes, right. Between 9 and 11.
Yeah.
Question. For the BOE, the Board of Education meeting on the 24th, is that a 6 o'clock meeting, or what time is it?
That will be a 6 o'clock meeting. So I'll make sure that that's also shown on the on our renaming website, but it is 6 o'clock.
They may have other issues on their agenda, not just the renamings.
Correct.
Right.
There will be other things. Public comment would be at the beginning. I'm not sure where renaming is going to be within the agenda. And then if folks sign up to speak, I'll double check, but I believe you can start signing up. I want to say 5:30, but I'll double check that time for also as you communicate with your folks.
I also suggested to Chelsea that maybe we practice doing the online voting by like doing ice cream flavors. Like she'd give us a practice slate of vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, butter, pecan, and we practice with that as opposed to watching the video. But I assure you.
Oh no, Betsy, I'm sorry. We are going to do that too. That was perfect feedback when Betsy gave that to me. So I'll send the video out ahead of time. And then even that night, just like we practiced for the scoring rubric with remember with Reggie
That was a baseball player.
And with Reggie White, we did Reggie White and Dr. King, right? Just like we practiced that night before you did it, we are going to practice that night with ice cream flavors. So have them in mind.
Just thinking of something cool. Okay. Any questions about that? So, Fred.
Just so I understand, because I've just begun a 19-day vacation. So we're going to have our meeting the morning of August 12, same time. I've got that down. But if we want to vote earlier or do our ranking earlier, we can't.
No.
It's got to be at that time.
That's right. So your job between now and August 12th is to think about what we all discussed today.
Okay.
To wait till Monday when you get the final list of comments that includes anything more what you have today is what came in through yesterday. And by Monday morning, maybe Friday, but more likely Monday, you're going to get the final list of comments. Chelsea is going to say, if you'd been doing your homework, you already read through pages 1 through 15. Here's what came in. Here's the new additions since the last time you saw it. So you'll have more public comments. We'll have those. There's no more public hearing before we vote. And then we're going to take 2 votes on the 12th. I'll probably open it up with, anybody have any more comments or discussion, kind of like we did today? Anything new that you want to add to our discussion based on what you've been thinking over the last week, based on your review of new comments that came in, based on your review of old comments that came in that you hadn't noticed the first time? We'll go around the screen is my plan to do that. And then drum roll, then Chelsea will, show us the ice cream flavors. We'll practice on the ice cream flavors and do that. And then she's going to put up the now 20 names since we removed 1 name. There had been 21. So it will now be 20. And you will have a chance to vote for, to rank order as many of those as you want. We want you to put in at least 4. At least 4. That's the minimum. And let's not be cute. Let's not just do, try to do just one because you're bullet voting. Let's not, you only really wanted this one, so you put 3 duds on there to mathematically skew those. Let's be honorable about this. And you'll vote for up to 4. Magic will happen. And Chelsea will say, here's where we're at. These are the top 8. We'll have a little more discussion about that. And then again, you can vote for within your 8, but at least 4, and we'll get our 8 down to 4. If in that 4, at least 2 are not people, then the 5th one that was a person will move up to being the 2nd. And if they were 3 geographic places, the lowest of the geographic one will move down so that we would end up with at least 2 people and 2 non-people, concepts or places. And then Chelsea's job after that is to take those materials and put together a packet to the board explaining what our process was and giving details about these 4 people for the board to consider on August 24th. Our job is done. All of you are done on August 12th. If you've had it and you're done, you're done. If you want to attend the board meeting on Zoom and watch it, if you want to attend it, in person, you're welcome to do that. the one you can, arguably you can testify, but only if what you're testifying about is consistent with that unified voice that we did. No coming to the board meeting and saying, well, I really wanted so and so, but it didn't make the top four, and I'm really mad about that because we are one unified voice at that point. Did I explain that correctly, Chelsea? And then we'll go to Robert.
Yes, you did.
Thank you,
And
Robert.
then, you explained it correctly, and I'll add the other reason why I want to, the other reason why I'm also sending in the information as soon as possible is one, I also want to give the board enough time to mull over this very important decision. And so having at least a week to review all the materials, they also might come back and want to talk with the chair and get more understanding from the chair, or from me. And so also just thank you everyone for your diligence and your flexibility, as this has been very accelerated, and just also trying to set everyone up to be successful while knowing that we can't wait any longer for this to happen. It's already been 4 years.
There was an article in the paper, was it Sunday, I think, that quoted our dear Chelsea. And it also mentioned that each school naming costs $30,000, and what it's been like. So you can just Google Madison.com and Chelsea Tubbs, and it'll show up. Robert, go off mute and please speak.
Yeah, just clarifying, there's nothing on the 19th or after. We're
Correct.
done on the 12th. Okay.
That's right. You can clear your calendar. Anything that says school naming and your responsibility to attend is done on the 12th. And
Yes.
like I said, you can show up on the 24th. You can invite your friends. Please, again, don't invite your friends to, dang, mine was 4th. I want it to be 1st. Come and do that, because we're now sticking with what our democratic vote on the 12th goes with. Any other questions? We're at 11:03 and I want to get people to go. Fred?
I just got a quick one, and that is that, as I understand it, at this next meeting on the 12th, we can do it from we will be able to do the ranking from cell phone as well as from a computer.
It's recommended you use your computer.
Okay.
It'll be a lot easier to move things around and see it. So if on your vacation you have your computer, boot up and join us that way, please. If all you have is a phone, okay. I suppose you could go to a public library wherever you are and try to use theirs, but there's the confidentiality and privacy and whatever.
I just have a brief request. I hope this doesn't throw anything off. I may have, Chelsea, I'm wondering if you could send us a calendar invite for the 12th, because I may have deleted the one that you sent for all the meetings by accident.
No problem. Yes. So I already have it on there, but I'm going to resend it. No problem. It happens all the time. And then I'll also do a summary email at the end of all three, because I have Shabbos tonight. So once I have them all done, then I'll do that summary email too, just really solidifying everyone, because I know scrolling through a 15-page agenda while also looking at a calendar invite, I know it's a lot. So I'll make a one-stop shop for y'all.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Isn't she the greatest? All right. Maybe we can't name it Chelsea Tubbs for very good reason. All right. Any final comments for the good of the order or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, hello, Principal Goss. Is there anything you wanted to add today?
No, I just wanted y'all to know I was here and listening, and great thought, great work, and I'm very excited to see what comes of this process, and I'm very excited for August 24th.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I should just excite you. There will be some kind of ceremony when the schools are renamed, and Chelsea and Principal Goss will let us know that. So when they, do that, you can come, Fred, bring your tennis racket and whack at the Lindbergh name. And, I don't think the new signs will be up, but okay. Could I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Fred moved. Do I hear a second?
I second.
And seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, everybody, review the comments. Keep your eye peeled for Monday when you get the new set of comments. And we're closing in. See you next Wednesday for the grand finale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. And we are adjourned at 11:06 a.m. and I am stopping the recording.
Thank you.
Thanks.